Hey everyone, welcome to your daily update for SOL and BTC. I'm just trying to get this one out as early as possible, so hopefully I can jump into the Discord live stream before it's over. So looking at the daily liquidity, um, it's it sort of would imply that SOL should make a bit of a move up, and we do. We do have a couple of moves just on some of the exchange timeframes that push us back to sort of that 226, 227 area. So we may take that little bit of cluster of liquidity to the upside. But at the same time, the daily closes, as they currently stand, are looking quite bearish. So it can all change in the next couple of hours. But when we get to the charts, you'll see that it looks like they're trying to hold the price down below a couple of key trends and below a couple of potential new hold levels getting created to push us down a bit further. And the daily support candle is still sort of sitting down there at about that 212 area, 212, 213. So that's pretty much all that's telling me. As far as the liquidity on BTC goes, same sort of thing. We need to hold above 1208 something. We'll find the specific number when we get to the chart. Otherwise, what we're doing is basically pushing the candle back down below high time frame support, which could pretty much instantly flip it into resistance and then just send it on a lovely little cascade down. So the upside liquidity, I wouldn't expect it to go past the 124 area with ease because we've built high time frame resistance there. So if it does go to the upside, that's probably a good area to look at de-risking. But yeah, the daily close could actually just create a cascade effect to the downside. So need to have a bit of a look at that. If we look at the 7-day charts, it's even on BTC. So again, up or down, there's cake to be eaten. And the same key levels that we've talked about all week are still there, and there's liquidity to take in them. Good news is for SOL, it's looking like if they were to go down to that 212, 210, anything sort of down in that area on the 7-day, then they've pretty much wiped out everything, in which case you'd expect some kind of bounce to the upside. Looking at the 30-day, 30-day is still showing, those really clear, obvious clusters sort of down to 210. And unfortunately, the 30-day shows so many bullish longs, and there are some overly bullish people right now that are all over crypto Twitter, etc., etc. It's actually a real mix. There's people who basically are already talking like we're in the bear, and then you got people saying that words like the forever bull run, that's never going to stop. So it's both sides of it, to be honest, are completely ludicrous. Price just doesn't move in a straight line. If it goes up, it comes back. If it goes down, it goes up. And it's markets are just going to be a series of either higher highs or lower highs. At the end of the day, and they're either trending up or they're trending down. Whether you're bullish or bearish just depends on the time frame. You can be bullish on a 15-minute time frame because you've got a 15-minute uptrend, and you can be bearish on a daily time frame because you've got a daily downtrend. So it's if you look at it from both directions, all these charts are really saying is that it would be unusual for them not to take this liquidity to the downside on BTC. And if the structure starts to imply that that's what they want to do, e.g. closing below key levels or opening new candles that have the ability to open on the wrong side of the trend, if that kind of thing is what we start to see today, tomorrow, the next day, then that is what they're going to do. So SOL, it's I don't know, like, if they do take that 212 area, I don't know if that's where they will spin around and bounce to a higher level, because it does look pretty tempting. Once you get to 212, if they stay there too long, then they'll target the 200, or lower. So we'll see how that goes. And as for when we'll find out, well, unfortunately, as you can see on the low time frame, because they've gone through and taken quite a bit of this liquidity very recently, if they want to go up, they're probably going to want to build a little bit more just above here. If they want to go down, they're going to want to build a little bit more in this gap here. Same thing goes for SOL. You know, once this starts to get full through boring sideways price and people taking bets, that's typically when the price will start to move. So, you know, as it stands right now, we may just have a little bit of sideways going into the close. And whatever they do at close will sort of give us a bit of an idea of the intentions that are going to play out over the next couple of days. So let's have a look at these charts. So on the 1-day SOLBTC Strength, as you can see, the candle has sort of been held down here at the base of the range. Now it has you know, obviously got 3 hours and 19 minutes to go because it's quite an early recording. But if it was to stay like this, if they just keep the sell pressure to maintain this as a price, or just push it just below the key level, so the key level there being 180.39, if they push that just below, then what you end up with is a combination of being under the downtrend with a hold level to push the price down, under the high time frame support, because this was the support that created that bounce up there to create the trend. And although you haven't technically lost the downtrend, there's a lot that would have to get through to get back up above that trend. So what's more likely to happen is a big rejection. And you know, that rejection, when you start to look at other daily levels that it could come to, you've got the range trend coming through here that could support it, which would be, you know, 17165. So that's a pretty decent dump for SOL. It could create some kind of support off the break level here, which is also down around that 16971. You got a hold candle down here, which, you know, is in that 16597 sort of starting point at the wick. But basically, what we're saying is that they're either going to pull this price up before the end of the day, in which case it was just a fake out to sort of make everybody bearish, or they're going to push it down and then have the ability to reject off the underside of all this. So the other thing that can happen is, of course, you can come down, bounce back up, sort of hold for a day, create a big wick, and then move the support trend to the underside, and then bounce off that support trend to try and actually ladder back up from there. But you know, generally speaking, that doesn't have a lot of success. If you've got things like hold levels and trends, it might give you like a temporary bounce back to the hold level and then some more downside. But basically, we're not in a position to break the downtrend closing here, so it's going to be at least another day before it has any hope of actually getting over that downtrend, unless it pulls all the way back up today. So that's what the daily's showing us. If we have a look at safety assets, so we're up above the range trend, we're up above the support trend. This is pretty much everything that, you know, you didn't want to happen if you were bullish on altcoins. So we've got an area up here at about that 65.92, which is high time frame resistance. You've got a couple of range trends up in there. We've rejected off it once previously, and I guess it needs to reject again. And if it doesn't, if we get another daily closure up over this, which is possible, because if you get one rejection, that's fine. But every time you hit this, you're more likely to go through it. And if we do get a close tomorrow up over that 65.9, let's just say 65.95 area, because it kind of encompasses everything, then it's going to start to shoot up to that next level again. So if we can reject off it, the rejection basically needs to break hold levels at 65.16. It needs to get back under the range trends. It needs to get back under the support trends, and then another range trend, and you know, and then sitting down here at 64.71, we've generated some more high time frame support. So yeah, it's not exactly the most bullish chart for alts. It looks like everything pretty much is trying to flow back into BTC and stables at this stage, just looking at this. And if it was to pull all the way back down and close under the trends today, then you could argue that maybe this is again just part of a whole fake out into daily close. And it is definitely strange. There are some altcoins like Hype, which has just hit some weekly support, and it's having a pretty decent bounce. And then you've got other ones like SOL that they have landed on some support. They should be going up, but they're just, the sell pressure on them is just huge. So, and overall, the market looks like it wants to de-risk, which is, what this is telling us. So it's a very rotationary sort of bull run at the moment, where you've got some assets will literally go up while others go down. Okay, let's have a look at these totals. So total excluding BTC has dived below the range trend. You would really expect that to pull back up above 1.66 by the end of the day, because it did come down, it hit a break level, which effectively is just a retest of re-entering that range. So that was that 1.63 range retest we spoke about yesterday. Now, it's not actually losing the uptrend, it's because it started from the other side of it. Most likely it will create a hold level, which means even if it does pull up, it's likely to try and reject back down again. Overall, it would be really having to close above 1.68 if it wants to have any hope of being bullish. Failing that, it's going to have a range trend, it's going to have a couple of break levels. We can get rid of that now because that's gone. But yeah, it's sort of not exactly a bullish close. Plus, it's pushed it back down under that trend again. So really just seems like everything is just trying to stay down. It's a bit weird. You'd sort of expect some kind of breakout to come, but not yet from the looks of that. So if we look at it from what the weekly's doing. Yeah, see, the weekly's still in the hold candle, so it's, although it is pushing back down below, it is pushing back down below the resistance trend, so that's not a great sign. That's got 3 days to go, but you definitely don't want to be closing the weekly down there. Okay, let's see. Right, so DXY averaged is still up within the range. So if we can get another day without touching 376.19, then it's going to create support. It has bounced off the range trend, and really you just don't want to see it create this hold level here. So you want to see it get up above that 379.52. I mean, it would be definitely more bullish if it got back up above the interior downtrend, but that would mean getting up above 3.85, or sorry, 385.04 before the end of the day. So don't know if it'll be doing that. Let's have a look. And totals minus stables. So this includes BTC. So yeah, so even including BTC, it looks like it's going to try and create a hold level at that 3.85. So it has retested and bounced off the 3.79 area that we spoke about, and it is back up inside the range trend. So what you could see come of this, if it closes like this, is the next candle might come down, tap the range trend, and then move up to try and attack the hold level, or it could attack the hold level and then try to push down to break the trend. But one way or another, it's going to live within that area until one side actually breaks. And we will be shifting the interior support trend today, so that's good. With this wick, as long as this wick stays long, if in the next 3 hours this thing starts to push down below these 3 key levels, so the 2 that exist now, being the range trend that's down sloping, and that 3.79 area, and the one that will get created, which will be this new trend. If it starts to push down to open on the wrong side of that stuff, then just expect all hell to break loose and probably some kind of big dump down to our next sort of key levels, or down to this 3.64 area here for the whole candle. So just yeah, it all comes down to what it does in the next few hours. So okay, how's that look on the weekly? The weekly's still okay, other than it's gone below the break level, so you really just want that to stay above the break level and above the trends, but it's got a few days to go on that. So let's have a look at BTC. Okay, right, so uncomfortable silence. So what's this going to do? So the key level really is this 120.826.1. So there's your exact number, and that is the daily support, which has been hard closed, has flipped. This is the second time it's been tested, and it did dive all the way through it and retest the break level to the downside there, which was that 120.128.7 level. So this is not abnormal, because both levels kind of needed, or were highly probable to be retested. So that's all kind of making sense. But what it does next is kind of the important thing. So we're under this very, very, very steep interior downtrend. If this wants to be really bullish, it needs to get back up above the prior broken trend, which it's currently losing. And that means closing the day around 122.731, 122.731.5. Now, unfortunately, what it has done is it's created 124.539.4 as a higher time frame resistance level. So this is a daily origin up here, and when price gets to that, it's very, very likely that that will reject. Now, the one that created the previous bear market in 2021 was a weekly version of this. So I don't think this is going to create a bear market, but it could give price a pretty good whack. So these levels that are down here at the 120.826, they may not hold. It's also very unlikely that they're going to hold if we get a hold level here. So I guess we're going to say this is going to be bearish for another dump if we close under 121.285. And we're also not shifting the trend, so it may be easier for this to actually spend another day going to the downside, just purely so that it can move the trend. Which I know might sound weird, but sometimes it's easier to shift the trend to the downside by having another day than it is to actually try to recover up above the trend once it's closed below. So I guess we're going to see how this plays out. But if it's the key levels I'm watching on this is definitely we want to stay above 120.826 and 120.128. If this gets pushed down in the next 3 hours and opens below these two levels, then it's pretty much a support air gap all the way down to 117. And given the strength of the safety assets and the weakness of the SOLBTC chart, yeah, that could be a pretty nasty dump in alts. So just yeah, and if they push it up not to create the hold level, which means above that 121.285, then that's definitely showing that they don't really want to have such a savage move to the downside. So looking at the 2-day, the levels are basically the same on the 2-day. There was another break level there at that 119.811, which has been retested. It's moving back up above the range trends, so that's not so bad. It's already tested the hold level up here. at that 122. So the 2-day does look a little bit better, and there will be some kind of interior trend. Just to see where that actually is, but okay, so yeah, it's kind of getting back up above that interior as well. You probably want it to move up just that little bit more. Otherwise, the next candle is kind of capable of opening just on the wrong side of that trend and then pushing down. So, and then that would head for those same levels effectively if that was to breach this trend. So that's getting a hold level on the 3-day if we close below 122.184 again. Could reject off the wick if it gets really bearish, so that's 121.465 if it closes below there. And it's kind of just up above one of the prior broken trends. So yeah, again, you just want to see that push back up a bit more. It's a very precarious place for it to be closing. Much like yesterday, it was such a non-committal close yesterday that they weren't really doing anything. They weren't making any decent support. They weren't technically breaking any real resistance. But then afterwards, they took a bit of a dive. So this is more or less the same type of scenario. If it comes down by 50 to $100, then it's in a really bad place. And if it goes up above 122.184, then it's in a much better place. But yeah, that's all that says. And we're not hard closing the hold level on the 6-day. We're still under the trends. So, and it's in a rejection of the key break level. So that's not really doing too much. If it loses all these levels, then support's just basically those same sort of 117s to 114s. Okay, so some of the really high time frame stuff is a little bit better. Like looking at this, we've bounced off the hold level, we're holding above the longer term trends. So yeah, these are not so bad. We are opening on the wrong side of the uptrend, but to reject off that uptrend, it actually has to go up first, before it can reject. And if it was to go down ever so slightly to that sort of 118, 119 area, then it could bounce off the top side. And we are hard closing the interior trend, so a retest of that around that 113, 112 sort of area, depending on when it gets there. That's also possible. And the weekly, basically, if this weekly closes like this below the break level, and then if the next week closes without hitting the break level, you have exactly the structure of the 2021 top. So really we want to see this thing get up and over that level, or at least touch it. It can keep touching it. It can spend weeks touching it. It's just the one day that it doesn't touch it, or the 1 week that it doesn't touch it, and it fails to accumulate up to that level again, then that means that the buying pressure is just disappearing, and that's game over. Okay, let's have a look at SOL. So yeah, SOL on the 1-day, it's looking pretty bearish. Now, obviously, like I keep saying, 3 hours to go, it can change. But really, you need to be getting up a close over 219.851 so that we don't create any kind of hold level here. It's pretty much done 2 bounces now. So we got our first bounce. So this is the kind of tradable trade that everyone should be looking for. Tradable trade. How do you like that? You create a range trend, you have a hold level, you bounce off the range trend, you target the hold level. So that's you taking along previously from say around 217 up to about 228. So that's that candle in there, based off the structure. Now we've come back down and we've hit that again. So this is the second test of the range trend. The hold level in this case is 219.851 if it closes down here today. So what we want to see is that not happen. We want to see that actually push back up. There are timeframes in play to send this price back up to 226 and 227. So it's possible that they're just going to stay down here for the next 2 hours and 40 minutes, and then 10 minutes before close, whoopee, some tweet, blah blah, and up it goes. And this could all just be to try and get people to capitulate. However, the other side of that is that they do the opposite, which would be very bearish, and that's they push it back down to about a 217, 218 close. They open on the wrong side of the interior trend, and they reject off the trend, and they dump down into this whole candle down here at the 212, 213 sort of area. And lastly, there's the one in the middle, and the one in the middle is that they close somewhere between the trend and the hold level, and then they could, if they want to, use the trend to break the hold level and move up. And this is where you just don't know quite what's going to happen, but that then sort of shows consolidation because it's down, up, down, and then maybe the next candle's up. Or they reject off the hold level, dive the trend down to here, pick up all the greedy orders, and then either one of two things happens. They either get back up here within the day and then continue up to test the range highs, or they stay down there, in which case they're not interested in going up, and you're going to probably see some more downside, over the coming days. So that's pretty much what the daily is saying to us. If we want it to be bullish, we want to be over 219.851. If it's going to be super bearish, it's going to push down below this trend, and that's going to be sort of a 217.6 or a 218 sort of close to be on the wrong side of that trend. It'd be insanely bearish if it came down below the range trend. That would just be ridiculously bearish. That would be like a 215.9 or less close, maybe a 214 close. And yeah, anything in the middle like this could go either way, so just be prepared for either way. And given some of the other timeframes are pointing back up, it's probably more likely they'll close in the middle like this or close up for the day after getting everybody a little bit freakish or freaked out and bearish, but we'll see. There's also just confluence with some of the other tokens that have found sort of weekly support now. Like if they're finding weekly support and they're going to go up, it's typically risk assets move up and down, not always to the same degree or same percentages, but they typically move up or down together. So let's have a look at this 2-day. So 2 days bouncing off the prior range trend. So this is one of those plays that's likely to take us pretty much anything from this sort of level where it's at now down to about that 213 level is likely to target back up to 226. So it's kind of where it is now. We've bounced off the range trend. The hold level for this is actually up above 230. The downtrend is around 232. So the bounce of this range trend could send us back up there. So that's positive. And it just kind of implies that maybe what we're seeing on the daily right now with daily close is just smoke and mirrors and noise, and they're just trying to get people to be really, really bearish before they actually sweep back up. Okay, so the 3-day. So 3 days dive in the interior trend. It's rejecting off the hold level, and really all this can do is either open the next candle and drop down to the support around that 212, or it can open the next candle, push up, test the trend again, and then go down. But one way or another, it's pretty much got to move between these two levels. I guess there is always the possibility that somewhere in the next 2 hours and 51 minutes it pulls all the way back up above that trend then and then just goes to the moon, but it's not looking like that's what's going to happen. Okay, 6-day, still under the downtrend. So there's a lot of confluence really to open the next candle and potentially get up to that 226, 227, 228 area, just testing some of this resistance. But at the same time, it's going to have to go down if it wants to find support. So it's not time frames like this, their support sits at about 204. So whether it's range trend or whether it's horizontal high time frame support, and about 199 would sort of be that next level, 199.2. So yeah, I don't know if you'd want to be on Twitter right now screaming bullish. This is not bullish. This is definitely looking pretty bearish. So it really needs to pull back up. So the new trend is going to shift, support trend will shift, and as you can see, the corner of the candle is right on it. So if it doesn't pull back up to that sort of, even to get in the wedge that will get created at the end of the day when this closes is basically going to be what you see there. The 50% mark of that wedge is going to be about 225.6. So unless it really pulls back up to 225.6 before the end of today, then it's going to potentially open in the wrong spot. It might push back up to that level or even push back up to the topside trend again, but the rejection of that can then just send it lower. So it's looking pretty bearish, to be fair, looking at that. Keeping this weird feedback coming through. Let me know in the comments if you can hear this intermittent click, click, click. Just heard it then. Yeah, let me know if you can hear it. Let's see, 47. So 47-day is going to move the trend to the top side. So that gives quite a big scope. So that so it's more resistance. So if you've been watching this over the last few weeks, there's a lot of resistance shifting up to that 250 area, and there's a lot of hold levels, forming down in that basically 180s or lower. So, or sorry, 189 and lower. So it's the more of this stuff that sort of looks like it's in rejection, the more likely it is that we sort of get a sweep up through these levels and then a dump. But yeah, the higher time frame stuff is still not looking like we're going to go to the moon tomorrow, that's for sure. Okay, let's have a look at some of these others. Okay, so SUI on the daily rejected. It's come down. It's retested the range that it moved back into. So this was this level here at 3.3327. But if it doesn't get back up above 3.4502 or that wick there at 3.4242 by the end of the day, then it's going to have another hold level and it could reject off that and have another go. There will be a trade in this once it gets down to this 3.3113. There'll be a scalp of that daily candle down there, which you could look to enter anywhere sort of from the wick to the body, and then run it back up to sort of that minimum level there at about 3.3594. So yeah, unless this has a decent sort of push up before the end of the day, it's probably going to have some more down. ENA is on the range trend. So this is just sitting. It's actually quite strong. Like just as a token, this is actually showing a lot more strength than a lot of the others at the moment. So if it opens above the range trend, it might try to push back up to this hold level up here at 5843. But as you can see, there's a lot of tightly compressed arrayed downtrends on the daily. So it's really not going to be free of this area until it actually gets back up over 5857. So that's when it sort of starts to be able to use all these trends, compressed trends, as momentum to push up. So I don't think I'll long that again. I used that daily hold to get out of that position on that bounce there. And just looking at it from a high time frame perspective, that was the daily hold there, which has pushed it back down. This is the 3-month trend running through here. And so, if it can maintain that trend, it should definitely bounce. But from a token perspective, there's downwards pressure on this, but at the same time, there's some pretty strong support as well. And I'm quite surprised we haven't seen it come back up to test this topside trend at 70 cents. But yeah, maybe it's just going to be one of those breakouts that we don't see coming. Cook, so said yesterday if it closed below back under the 13934 level just to get out, and yeah, as you can see, we did that, so down we go. We've shifted a trend to here, we're diving the trend, so you'll probably get a move up off either of these levels down here. So pretty much once you go below 12338, so anything below there, whether it's the whole candle, the backside of this range here, so anything in there, or even the trend, could actually bounce it back up. So it's dived from the wrong side of the trend, so it may even pull back up before the end of the day, but it's still, that's why once you get above or below these levels, see, hard close above the level, long the level, hard close below the level, short the level. That's what that's saying. And World Liberty Finance, it played out that move between the levels. So 1803, 1867, and it's rejected off the trend. So it's going to shift the trend today. So we're going to move to here. So you may get a move. If it retests this trend, you might get this move now from about, what's that, 1727 back up to the underside of the range here, which is about that 1803, or because it hasn't hard closed the range, it may push through to the hold level here. The wick's really, really long on that hold level too, so quite often in this sort of instance, let's get to that level, what happens is if it finds trend support, it can push right up into the hold level, and it can keep pushing up until it actually creates some kind of range trend. We've only got one candle, so it is actually more than capable of recovering from this, like this type of structure. It can push back up, close a day without touching 1803, and convert 1803 into high time frame support, bounce off it, and then shoot up. So keep an eye on that. It might be, once again, being very tricky and just trying to get everybody to think it's going to fall off a cliff, but it only takes 2 days to turn that into a lot of strength. So let's have a look at ZEUS. ZEUS is still on the fence on the weekly. Come back to that on the weekly. Hype. Okay, so someone on the Discord wanted me to explain this trade. So took this level here at 42478 this morning, just for a bit of a, what I call a daily income scalp. So how and why. So first, what we had, that's a daily trend too, by the way, just coming through here. What we had was we had a range, we hit the base of the range, we created a range trend, we shot back up, we failed to distribute back to the trend on the next week, which means that that becomes a support level, and that support level you can take a scalp on, and you can do pretty high leverage on these scalps. If the first one has swept it, the second one will normally just touch it, will be very, very close. As you can see, it's a very accurate entry. So yeah, just put a reasonable size on that. And I was just going to take it back up to the backside of the broken trend, which is that very faint line that's running through there. So I was just going to take it back up to there. I ended up closing it early because it had enough money. So why be greedy? Plus I had to make a video for all of you. So couldn't really keep an eye on it. So the outcome of this actually is that it is a weekly support level, so it's more than capable of going back through this daily trend that we've got marked on here. We will also get a shift of the weekly trend today, which is this line coming through here. So that's going to end up being there. And as long as it keeps the proximity and distance from that new trend that's created, you can probably re-enter this again and then chase your target up to the hold level if you wanted to, as far as a weekly move goes. But this is pretty high time frame support, so it should give some more moves or more room to the upside. You might get an initial move back to the trend. So as an example, if it closes here, the back side of this trend might push it down first before up, and so might the daily. So it looks like SOL is pushing back up. So yeah, this although it was a scalp trade, and these are the types of trades you can take really high leverage on, there might be sort of more of a longer swing trade come about this once the trend shifts and it retouches the trend and looks to move to the upper hold levels. The important thing is it hasn't lost this range, this accumulation range, and I wouldn't try to take the trade past, from a weekly perspective, I wouldn't try to take it past 49.9, just because this here is actually a high time frame resistance. So this is effectively a range here to here. So if you're going to long the bottom of the range, you'd be longing here, and if you're going to take the greediest TP level, it would be back at the top of the range. Ranges don't always go from top to bottom because eventually they do break, and that could be what's happening here. So this hold level that's through here is designed to stop it getting back up there. This trend is going to try and stop it from getting back up there. The loss of this trend is going to try and stop it even getting to the halfway mark. And the daily probably won't really change it too much from a weekly perspective. But so if you're trading ranges, you're trading the boundaries of the range. So discussed this very briefly in the Discord today as well. I mentioned that we've created a daily boundary on BTC, and it was a weekly boundary that created the bear market in 2021. So we've created a daily. We've got to get up above that daily. We've got to really stay above that daily. If we stay above that daily, we can make it the bottom of the next range and we can move to a higher range. But if we start creating weekly boundaries like what this token has, then these are bigger. So if these things break, they create bigger falls. If they break at the top, they create bigger moves to the upside. So if this 49.914 level breaks, then we can easily then come back up here and retest the all-time high break level there at 59. So, but likewise, if we lose the bottom of this range, then we come down here to this 36 area, and then the whole process starts again where it tries to create a base, and then it either holds the base and breaks the upper, or it loses the base and goes to the next level where it tries to create another one. So there is an equivalent level to this 42.478 level is this one down here at 32.320. So if you lose this level here, the most likely one to actually be able to catch it and stop it falling further is all the way down at 32. So that was the trade we took today, just a scalp trade. make a bit of money, and now we just keep an eye on it to see if it gives us the option of maybe a positional trade or something to target this, or a swing trade to target this 49 level, depending on how it closes for the week. Okay, what else we got? ASTER. Probably should have longed that level, didn't long that level. So I took a trade on ASTER up here, and where did I TP? It's not that chart. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so took a trade here, Mr. Alien. But also at the same time, you know, I was speaking to someone about this one in the Discord, and I noted that it didn't touch the range trend. So that was really suspicious. So what the game plan was that if it didn't close back up over top of this interior trend, I'd cut the position. And it's sort of open just right there on the edge, you know, on the top of the trend. So I actually kept the position open, and when it started to go back up, it was just really struggling to get past this sort of level here. We had some inverse resistance here. We had the backside of this range here. It made sense to me that it was going to sort of go up to those levels, but it didn't. So as it started to fall back down like this again, I just TP'd the position, and as you can see, it came back down, tested the bottom of the range trend, and then had a bounce. There is a prior broken trend that was running through here, and the big warning sign is that when it closed below the prior broken trend, it was most likely going to, you know, have a solid rejection, which is the next leg down. And so then it's come down and it's basically bounced off the high time frame support level, which is running through here. So that was the scalp on it the other day, which led to the, you know, big move up. This is it being retested. It shifted the trend to the bottom side. So yeah, there could be a trade in this if it revisits that area, bounces off the trend to go up. But really, that was the area to long, but it didn't long that. Was probably asleep, to be honest, for that one. And if you tried to enter it now as a swing position, you could enter off. So, okay, so assuming you get maybe you get a couple more candles in here, and if you do, and it retests this 1.6168 level, then you could potentially re-enter there, target the trend. Kind of want it to get over that trend. To be fair, it's just going to be a pain now that it's back underneath it. So if it gets on the other side of that trend and then tests that 1618 level, that could give a nice decent bounce all the way back up to the top side trend there. So it's probably worth just having a alert on that. And on that. Okay, so move Mr. Alien face there. Kind of want it over there, but we'll see. It'll take a few days to get to there. What else do we have going on? I think that was it. ETH. Okay. So ETH bounced off the range trend. It tested the hold level. That was done. It's rejected. It's retested the prior broken trend. It's holding above that. So there's a lot of confluence with this opening the next candle and coming down to test the next array of the daily trend, which would be confluent with the hold level down here. So, you know, you'd expect to be able to get long this in confluence with the trend. What you just got to watch out for, and it's something that catches people out, is how the price behaves when it gets down here. So if they move it into this hold level and they just hover on this trend, and then we're sitting here tomorrow and we're going, geez, why hasn't it gone up? It'll be because what they're trying to do is break the hold level, and the easiest way to do that is to hover the price here, open the candle on the other side of the trend, and then dump, and then that just gets nuked. So, and then it comes down, and this one down here has to try and support it. So, if you're wondering how they basically systematically dismantle a token, it's using areas like this, going into it and not bouncing, but going into it and just holding. And then when the time is right, e.g. tomorrow's close, bounce off the back and dump. So that's, but for the meantime, assuming that it doesn't do that, if it comes down into this area, you should be able to get a bounce. So, yeah, right, that's us. So yeah, let me know if you heard that weird click, click, click coming through in the audio, because I keep hearing it on my headphones. And the summary of today's video is, like most days, it needs to go up before it closes, or it's going to go down. Seems to be the moral of the story when it comes to these videos. And the lawnmower just started. Doesn't that just get better? I think that's about it. Like, subscribe, and come join us in the Discord. And I'm still working on these tools and these indicators and things like that to try and make all this kind of stuff easy for people who actually want to learn to trade this kind of stuff based on price structure and trade it properly. So yeah, we'll work all that. More information to come. Yeah, not much else to talk about. And that wedding that I have to go to is a while away, but there might be a reversal. Sorry, reversal. You tell I'm a trader. A rehearsal. Reversal, that's another name for a divorce. Okay, now I'm just ranting. Okay, goodbye everyone. Bye-bye.